Hi, everybody. I wanted to talk today about self-sabotage. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. Self-sabotage is fascinating to me because self-sabotage is basically a part of yourself pushing against the rest of you. It's a part of yourself trying to stop the rest of you from moving forward. Self-sabotage is really easy. It's really interesting to me because it's actually one of your strongest parts. Your power can be divided up between something internal that's moving you forward and something also internal, but moving you backwards, pushing you back. And then you end up creating this like push and pull between yourself, between your power from the inwards and your power from the external pushing you back inwards. So your power can either move with you, pushing you forward, or move against you, pushing you back, or in most cases, doing both, doing the push and pull. Your self sabotage is part of your power. And if you look at that as actually this thing that's holding me back is actually one of my most powerful parts, wouldn't it make sense to get to know it? Wouldn't it make sense to befriend it? Wouldn't it make sense to become an ally with it? Because if your self sabotage is one of your most powerful pieces, if it started working with you, you would get ahead. Your self sabotage believes in you. That's why it's doing it. Because if it didn't believe in what you wanted, it would just kind of let it happen. So your self sabotage has an agenda to not let what you want be created because it believes in your ability to create it. So in order to start shifting that and in order to start creating your sabotage as an ally and not as an adversary, you have to start asking it questions. You have to start getting to know it. So what I love doing is just sitting across from your self-sabotage, putting a chair there, talking to it, going inwards and feeling that somatic sensations in your body when the self-sabotage starts being created. So it could be when you're at a coffee shop, sitting down to finally do that piece of work. And then all of a sudden, your coffee's not good enough, or a person that you knew just walked in, or now you have to like answer all the messages on your phone. When that starts happening, take a moment to feel into sensationally what's going on in your body. That is the outline of your self sabotage. You can literally trace the character of your self sabotage there. It goes around your heart, it goes up into your eyes, it goes around and it becomes really heated in the bottom of your back. Create an outline of your self sabotage and start asking it questions of what's its name. Might be, for mine personally, it's Igor. For other people, it might be your mom, it might be your third grade teacher who was mean, it might be your bully from childhood. It might have a totally different name. It might be Will Smith. It could be anything. Asking yourself sabotage, what is its name? And then going ahead and just starting to ask more questions. The more questions you ask, the more it's going to open up, the more dynamic it's going to become, the more it's going to allow itself to really reveal its agenda. So, really asking questions like, tell me what you look like. What do you act like? What do you sound like? My personal self sabotage, his name is Igor. He's a Russian bodyguard. He's really big. He's really tough. And his biggest thing is to make sure that nobody takes advantage of me. And how that shows up is I end up acting really forcefully. I end up talking too fast. I end up not letting the other person share. And it's a defensive energy, it's a self-sabotage energy. And he used to be a big part of my business because I would had a lot of fear around people taking advantage of my work. And so he would be urgent in his messaging. He would be wanting the money up front. There was not a lot of trust in him. And as you can imagine, as somebody who's a coach or a healer, that's not really an energy I want to bring to clients or people who are choosing to go on a path of vulnerability. For them to meet Igor first is not the way to go. We all have our egos. We all have the part that gets big and inflated, and they end up hurting us or they end up doing the things exactly as we don't want. Because instead of getting taken advantage of, which was his biggest fear, and I appreciated that, I wasn't even getting any work. I was losing out on clients. I was losing out on the ability to help people, which is what I want more deeply than not being taken advantage of. So you're asking your self-sabotage piece, what is their biggest fear? What's the worst case scenario? And going ahead and asking that part of you of, is there worst case scenario something I can handle? Can I handle being taken advantage of? And the answer is yes. I create systems that, first of all, make sure that doesn't happen. I create some boundaries that make sure that doesn't happen. But also, I trust myself. I trust myself to know the difference between someone who's taking advantage and someone who just needs more time to decide what they want to do. And he still pops up a lot. Igor's definitely there, but I can feel him. I can sense him. I know the difference between worry or concern versus Igor. I can feel what he feels like. So you're really wanting to get to know what this part of you feels like energetically. I love asking the question of like, do they have an accent? Do they have a gruffness in their voice? How do they speak in your mind? Is it short sentences like get out or stop or you're stupid? Do they criticize? And you're really trying to characterize this part of you, really creating an avatar. What's the difference between self-reprimand versus, your self-sabotage that's demeaning and mean and bullying you? How does that feel different? How do they talk differently? Because we have so many thoughts going around, but if we realize that they're all parts in constant panel discussion and constant dialogue amongst themselves, we'll be able to start differentiating who's speaking when and which ones do we want as the ones that are driving the car, the ones that are driving our decisions and behaviors. So, first of all, just acknowledging that your self sabotage is your strongest part, and then creating an avatar as much as you can. Really, who are they? What are they? What do they sound like? What do they do? What do they create? And then feeling into what do they want? Like, what would be their best case scenario? Igor's best case scenario is that I never work with anyone, you know, no one ever messages me or reaches out to me. That will be the way that I won't ever get taken advantage of. And just saying like, what is their deepest desire, and giving it to them. This is the new part of it. You might think that you just say like, okay, well, it's not going to get that, or I trust myself, or all these things. But how can I satisfy Igor's needs? Igor's needs of complete isolation and solitude to avoid any taking advantage of this. So asking yourself, how can I let myself sabotage really indulge in its needs? So if your self sabotage is working and never letting you step into your power, never letting you have, the wealth that you're looking for, the business that you're looking for, how can you let it indulge in that? How can you let yourself feel as powerless as possible? What would you need to do to give yourself a powerless trip? I like that. I just made that up. Give yourself a powerless trip. And it could be like literally like finding clothes on the street and wearing that in your room for an hour and just feeling that powerlessness. It's kinky. It feels confusing, but just feeling into your self sabotage part, what would it want? What would it deeply want? And giving it to that part for a little bit. It doesn't have to be forever. And when that part is given what it's want and it's also brought into awareness, things are going to start moving. It's going to let you have what you want. So it's a give and take. It's a compromise here. You're both recognizing what the other one wants and giving it to each other. It's a relationship. It's like a couple going into therapy for the first time and finally realizing that if I actually just focused on my partner's wants and needs, my wants and needs will also get met, because we'll actually be more resourced to give each other what we need as we're giving each other what we want and need. So playing around with that, I hope that was helpful. Feeling into what it is that your self-sabotage really deeply wants. And I want to invite everybody here to a deeper mentorship, a 4-month one-on-one mentorship with me, going real deep into what it is that you want, what it is that you're going with. And with that comes this course called Trusting Love. It's my baby. It's a powerful course really about how we self-sabotage, how we recreate our patterns around love over and over and over and over again. And feeling into what if we gave ourselves sabotage what we wanted for a little bit? Can we actually get what we want on a deeper level? Can our hearts start getting what we want? And it's not easy going on those journeys. So it's really playing with this dance here of what we want and what we don't want, what our self sabotage wants and what our heart wants, and letting both dance in the arena. So the course here is really about learning how to step into trust, feeling the confrontation or the self sabotage that comes up along with it, and then moving with that, and then going deeper into love, and then feeling the self sabotage or the fear that comes up alongside with that, and keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. The course starts November 27th and it goes all the way until March 18th. It'll have teachers like me and a couple of extra teachers as well, coaches who have been through the process, one-on-one support and peer support of an entire group going through the same thing. The link is below, and looking forward to the ones who are called into that. If you feel called for that as well, go ahead and you can also go into a deeper one-on-one mentorship with me so you can really get weekly support from me plus weekly support from the group. Have a great day, everybody, and hope to see you there.